Well, good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for the very warm reception. It's so lovely to meet your esteemed Premier. I told him on the way in, I thought his performance at the first minister's meeting recently has been outstanding, simply outstanding. A lot of Canadians have remarked, frankly, about his wisdom and his approach to some of the challenges he faces. So I just want to give him a very sincere shout out. Thank him very much for his leadership. Thank you for joining us here at this, of course, important Emerson port of entry in Manitoba, right across from Pembina. I feel very much at home, not because I spent much time in Manitoba, but because one of my sons is a CDSA officer and spent 7 years on the line in La Colle and Saint Armand, and a year as the supervisor at Roxham Road during the pandemic. So he's one of your brothers, and I'm very proud of the work that he does, and I'm very proud of the work that you do here. I know quite a bit about what you do and how you do it. I know a little bit about your agency, having reviewed it as the chair of Canada's National Security and Intelligence Committee. So I'm very, very pleased to be here with you today and to share a couple of words. We know this is one of the busiest ports along the Canada-US border, west of the Great Lakes, 24/7. Makes it popular for tourism and cross-border shoppers. I heard a little bit about that earlier from the Premier. Also represents a large trading corridor that links the prairies with the US and Mexico. I understand over 50 Border Services officers are here, and they're working to protect us and facilitate trade. And just over the border, the US CBP colleagues are doing the same. There's a lot on the line, a lot at stake. You might have heard something about yesterday. We stopped some tariffs being applied on both of our economies. And that's a good thing because last year nearly $3.6 billion worth of trade and about 400,000 people crossed the Canada-US border every day. Canada and the US have built the most successful economic, military, and security partnership the world has ever seen. And I believe it's still the most successful the world has in place today. We share the longest border in the world, and together we manage what's also the world's most secure border. Every day, you folks, RCP folks, patrol the border to keep us safe, prevent criminals, guns, and drugs from entering and harming our communities. Au nom de l'ensemble des Canadiens et des Canadiennes, je tiens à remercier ces agents pour le travail assidu qu'ils accomplissent et les services essentiels qu'ils assurent. While our border is already secure, we recognize there's more that we can do. What was our objective yesterday? Stop the tariffs. What's our objective today? Stop the tariffs. What's our objective tomorrow? Stop the tariffs. We're going to do what we have to do in order to strengthen this border with your help, because there's so much on the line for everyday Canadians. Recently, in my own constituency office, I had a number of business owners calling in tears, worried about whether they would let families go out of work or move their businesses to the United States. This is real for us. It's real. And we're making that very well known in the United States, in DC, and at the White House. After the Prime Minister spoke with the President yesterday, we committed to a set of measures that would further strengthen our security at the border. This is going to expand on the $1.3 billion plan we announced some time ago, early December. First, the Prime Minister signed a new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl that'll be backed by a $200 million investment. We're going to be appointing our first fentanyl czar. The words are chosen carefully. Fentanyl czar, who will serve as the main interlocutor between the Canadian and US governments and will enhance our collaboration in combating fentanyl. Fentanyl is an extraordinarily dangerous drug. And I mean extraordinarily dangerous drug. In very small volumes, very small pills, is extremely lethal. We're listing organized crime cartels as terrorist entities under the criminal code. Listing is an important tool that will support our criminal investigations and strengthen the RCP's ability to prevent and disrupt the activities of cartels. It also allows us to more immediately follow the money. Canada is committed to ensuring 24/7 eyes on the border through the round-the-clock surveillance commitment. In combination with others, nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are working on our border. We're mobilizing law enforcement and civilian forces with new and modernized equipment. You've heard about that. A couple of Black Hawk helicopters, 60 drones, not purchased from China, built in the United States, to national security standards in both the United States and Canada. And finally, yesterday, the Prime Minister and President agreed to launch the Canada-US Joint Strike Force on fentanyl. That strike force is going to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. It'll include 10 teams of law enforcement, border security, and intel professionals across Canada and the United States. As I mentioned, all of these build on and expand on our $1.3 billion border plan. Under this plan, we've already first brought in more personnel. Second, delivered more tools and resources. Third, more advanced technology. Fourth, as I mentioned, drones. Fifth, surveillance equipment. Sixth, canine teams, helicopters, and more. Aujourd'hui, je suis accompagné, comme je l'ai mentionné, du Premier ministre provincial Wab Kinew, du ministre Terry Duguid, votre ministre du Manitoba, et le député Ben Carr de Winnipeg. My colleagues here represent the fact that we're working seamlessly together. All orders of government. If we stopped the tariffs yesterday, we stopped them because of the Team Canada approach. A lot's on the line for our country. So here we are. We are moving forward. We're moving forward with Health Canada, standing up new laboratory systems so we can track and trace the origins of precursors that are being used in the production of fentanyl. We're working with our American counterparts in their laboratories in Virginia to be able to get trained up and have equal abilities on both sides of the border, because the fentanyl scourge and tragedy is not just a Canadian one. It's a joint one. It's one that we share together. Our families are affected profoundly by this. The President has spoke about this. We've listened. President Trump has a job to do. Let me just be clear about this for a second. He ran in an election. He had a platform. He made promises to his people, and in his mind, he's delivering on those promises. We need to be respectful of that. But we also have to cooperate and deal with some of these challenges that we've dealt with for 150 years together. It's important to keep this longest undefended border in the world, the longest undefended border in the world. Well, illegal crossings from Canada to the US are already down by 89% since July 2024. As I mentioned, 60 new drones, 2 new Black Hawks. These are going to help us disrupt more illegal cross-border activity. Just to be clear as well, maybe to repeat it for effect, less than 1% of the fentanyl entering the United States is forthcoming from Canada. We have challenges with drugs coming from the United States. Large volumes of narcotics. 1,000 kilograms of cocaine seized in the last several months in Toronto and in Coutts in Alberta. The American administration understands this. So do we. We'll work together on making sure that that's also dealt with. And for that matter, we're also very cognizant of the problem we have with the importation and the smuggling of unlicensed weapons into Canada from the United States. We'll be cooperating with the United States authorities on that front as well, something raised by the Prime Minister with President Trump yesterday. We're increasing removals in Canada this year by 25%. Last year, more than 16,800 people from Canada. We're up 25%. That's the plan, that's the target going forward. I want to close with this. We're in this and on this journey together, both in Canada, at all levels of government, across society. It's a whole of country approach. But we're also in this with our largest trading partner, our closest ally, and our best friend, the United States of America. We need to keep reminding our families, our friends, our business colleagues, folks we work with in law enforcement, that that is the relationship that's at stake here. It's a strong one and a good one, and not one we want to compromise. And finally, I want to say this, if I could. Through Premier Kinew and through all Manitobans who might be listening, thank you for your help. Thank you for joining us in this Team Canada effort. Thank you for your investment of time. Thank you for your frontline folks who are helping us close on this, monitor this border, and do what we have to do to keep our country sovereign, strong, and compassionate. Thank you very much for having us, morning. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Terry Duguid. I'm the Member of Parliament for Winnipeg South and the Minister for Prairies Economic Development Canada and the Minister for Sport. It's wonderful to be here today in Emerson. I really want to thank my colleague, my longtime friend of over 20 years, David McGuinty, for coming a long way to see us today and for his important message about our strong border and the fact that we're going to be making it even stronger. And it's a big thank you to all of you who are gathered today and the great work that you do to keep us safe, to keep trade flowing, our federal and provincial partners, our Indigenous partners who are participating in this important effort that we're talking about today. And of course, great to stand alongside Premier Kinew and Minister McGuinty to showcase this Team Canada approach that we're highlighting today. And wonderful to be back in Emerson. Of course, I'm a cross-border shopper as well, like so many Manitobans, and been through this beautiful town many times. And it's a busy place. The fifth busiest crossing in Canada, second busiest west of the Great Lakes. 1,200 trucks passing through here every day, carrying $30 million worth of goods. Some staggering statistics just that highlight the importance of this port to the economy of Manitoba and Canada. $14 billion each year passing through this port of entry to the United States. We import $17 billion through the United States to Canada. And of course, we are in the heart of what we call, the Premier and I, the Mid-Continent Corridor, which begins up in Churchill and ends in Monterrey, Mexico. It is a corridor that certainly builds prosperity, employs a lot of people, and so many of our products come up from the United States and are traded across our great country, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Grain, livestock, energy products. Our economies are incredibly interlinked and integrated. I was down in Minnesota in 2024. I visited the St. Cloud New Flyer Industries plant down there, employing thousands of people. And of course, we have in Transcona, we have where my good friend Jenna Lee Boychuk, I was at her wedding 30 years ago with a little baby who's now 30 years old. So it was great to see her this morning and have a few reflections about our hometown. But those two plants work seamlessly, parts cross the border, and we produce buses for the North American continent that are sold in cities throughout North America. The oats we grow here in Manitoba, we send them down to the General Mills plant in Minneapolis. They come back to us as Cheerios and as granola bars. So we are incredibly integrated. I could talk about 4 or 5 more industries. And so the tariffs that were announced by President Trump had the potential to be incredibly disruptive. We got a bit of a reprieve, as David has said, but that threat still hangs over us. And so we have to be vigilant and Again, thank you to Premier Kinew, all of the premiers, municipal leaders, our citizens, for really standing up for Canada over the last week or so, and to show that we will stand firm in defending our country, defending our interests, and defending our jobs. As Minister McGuinty said, there are genuine concerns about the border that we are highlighting today. We do believe it is a strong border, but that it can be made stronger. And so we're here today to show that we take this issue very, very seriously, and hence the $1.3 billion border plan. And we're learning so much more about the good work that you're doing here in Emerson, the good work by the RCMP to tackle issues such as human smuggling, drug trafficking, weapons, and other issues which jeopardize the safety of Canadians and Americans alike. So it's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to the tabletop exercise and learning more, and I would invite the Premier to the podium.
Well, good day, everybody. I'm Wab Kinew. I'm the Premier of Manitoba. Everybody's talking about tariffs, and on the weekend when the announcement came in, I was teasing a friend of mine who's a politician in North Dakota. I said, great, now I can't go to Shields. So yesterday the news came down, and texted him again. Said, Shields is back on, right? So I think got to keep a sense of humor during the current moment, but it's nice to see that buy local sentiment that Canadians are feeling right now. But the work that you do here at the border is going to be integral to us strengthening the relationship with the United States of America, our closest ally, most important trading partner. And I think that as the province of Manitoba, we're really happy to step up and to partner with law enforcement, conservation officers, emergency measures organization officials to support a strong and secure border here and across Manitoba. We have to have 24/7 eyes on the border. And the only way that we're going to do that is if we work together. And so to see this collaboration in person, CBSA, RCMP, Customs and Border Patrol, from our American friends, conservation officers, EMO, First Nations police, everybody working together, that's how we're going to get it done. And let's be clear, the reason we're doing this is because this is good for Manitobans. Manitobans want to see fentanyl taken off the streets. Manitobans want a secure border. And if we can make those investments at the same time that we're strengthening the relationship with the United States of America, helping our economy, then it's all the better. So I think the main message that I want to share with you folks here today is just a message of gratitude and to say thank you for your service. The work that you do each and every day makes our country safer, makes our First Nations communities, our towns, our cities, our neighborhoods safer, but it also makes us very proud as Canadians and as neighbors to the U.S. So thank you for your service.
I believe that wraps up the remarks portion of this, and we're now going to transition over to the next witness here.
Send everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep it more together. Keep everybody step back. We're going to swing this curtain around. All the way. Sorry. Nope.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
A barrel of bins that don't tip over.
The hazardous material. No killers, basically.
I think it is
So what they do, are they test it there? Yeah.
It's real fentanyl. We're all in trouble. How many different substances does that thing can detect?
Many.
How many? Like,
Many. It all depends on what it's calibrated for.
does it calibrate for one thing at one time, or no? Like dozens, hundreds?
Dozens.
Dozens. Yes.
Also explosive.
Yes. Yeah. Radioactive materials?
Yep. Just wait.
Presentation is for our guests.
You guys are way more important during the day. Okay. Steve, right?
Steve,
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Yeah, thank you.
Where do you want to stand? Over here?
You can stand right here if you like, sir. Wherever you'd like. I'll stand right in front of you. At some point, I'm gonna use the machine. so.
Get away from the machine.
Yes, sir.
So thank you so much for everyone being here today. You know, we're going to demonstrate this machine for us here. It's one of the devices that CBSA has that intercepts and identifies highly toxic substances. So this device here is a tabletop desktop analyzer. It takes non-visible particles. When the officers swab it, all of our officers are trained on it, and it will identify certain substances that are present. One of them mainly being fentanyl, fentanyl analogs, and opioids. So the officers themselves, it also acts as a health and safety aspect and role for us as officers, so that we can understand what it is that we're dealing with before we actually get into the actual.
I see you got a Narcan
Yes.
sheet up on the wall, so I guess there's a risk when you're working with these substances for your
Absolutely,
officers.
absolutely. There's always a risk when the officers, they're all trained, all of the officers are trained on the use of Narcan as well. There's obviously, you know, when we're dealing with unknown substances, we expect, we anticipate the worst and we work our way down gradually. But it is one of the best devices that we have that allows us to detect basically non-visible particles. So we'll use it to swab all sorts of items. We'll use it to swab steering wheels, it could be cell phones, it could be driver's licenses. So we will go through a quick demonstration here to identify or to show how the machine itself works. So for us, we take one of our swabs. First thing we do to ensure that it's sterile is we'll run it through our machine. The machine itself will analyze it. So the machines themselves are dual mode, meaning that they'll identify illicit drugs, controlled substances, and also explosives. So the sample itself here, no alarm detected. That would be a good day for us.
Okay.
So what I will do is I will simulate with our pen here.
Can you do it?
Sure.
So you're back in front. Perfect.
I will simulate with this pen here. So this pen itself here has a substance on it that allows the machine to calibrate so that we know that it's performing adequately. So I will put a little bit on the machine or the swab.
What is that substance?
It's just a chemical compound that the machine identifies. Well, it actually detects it, so you'll see the machine here will alarm. So now it's alarming right now that it's a verification mode and that it's done that. But the alarm itself is the exact same alarm it would have if it was a fentanyl or if it was one of the fentanyl analogs or an opioid or heroin or cocaine or explosives. It will give us the actual type of substance that it has identified. So from there, the officers, depending on what it is and the quantities that they have, will be able to now examine that item in a more strategic and a controlled setting.
You know where.
Exactly. So, you know, for the sake of today's demonstration, I'm not donning any of our personal protection equipment, which we would have on at this point if this came back as, say, fentanyl or phenol, depending on the quantities. And then from there, we would move to this machine over to the left here, which is a ventless area that basically extracts all of the dust, any type of particles, up and away from the officer so that we're able to examine it safely without having to expose ourselves. Yeah. And at that point, that's when the officers would have all of their gloves, all of their breathing apparatuses, Tyvek suits, absolutely the whole 9 yards.
Like a lab.
100%, yeah.
So
And from,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, from there, depending on what we have, if we still can't identify what it is, CBSA does have labs that are in certain locations in the country that we would then securely package and ship those items out, a sample out, so that we'd be able to exactly know. We won't release any good until we know exactly what it is, so that we're not potentially putting people at harm.
Guys, is there a sharing of information between what locations we find in Manitoba versus BC or Quebec to see if there is this flow of that same substance happening throughout the country?
Absolutely. I mean, the CBSA works very closely with our partners. We have our own intelligence teams that work within our own areas and region that work with the RCMP and their intelligence partners and or domestic law enforcement agencies. So we are all sharing information to be able to identify those trends and patterns so that we can respond.
That would go with our American.
Yes.
Which way?
Yeah. When it comes to our, we all have MOUs that we're able to share information collaboratively so that we can address the issue itself as one big team.
So biologics, it would not.
No.
Check.
No biologics.
So that's another technology,
Yeah.
and always fearful of the.
That's where our lab would come in.
Yeah.
If we are not able to with this device,
Right.
we do have other items that we are able to test certain drugs,
Take it to the
narcotics.
National Microbiology
Yeah,
Lab.
well, we have narcotic identification kits that are other chemicals that, if we have an idea of what it is, that allows us to do some field testing.
Yeah.
That being said, if we can't identify what it is, for us, this is a great tool for us in contributing to the safe, secure, and the integrity of our borders. So it's much appreciated. We have a number of these across our region and across the district at strategic locations.
US technology?
You know what? I'm not 100% sure.
I can tell you it is.
It is. Okay. Smith's actually, yeah.
Smith's is manufacturing, it's a major company in Texas.
Oh, okay.
They are mobile as well.
All right.
So we are able to, some of the locations that don't have, we are able to take
Right.
and go and to utilize them there. So
How long would it take to train an officer on the implementation of that system?
on this, within a day. Easily within a day. It's about an hour and a half in terms of classroom, and then about another hour or so of actually in the field of going through the motions of testing. And that comes with also, ensuring that they understand how it operates from a court perspective to make sure that everything we're doing is legal and in incremental steps as we move through the process.
Very good. Thanks, be good one. So has there been a recent incident where this machine has
In all honesty,
detected?
we use these machines daily. They are so, they pick up such a minuscule, like microgram level that, in all honesty, we could probably swap random things and it would come up. Now, it doesn't mean that there's anything there, and obviously we always have to balance those false positives because there are certain chemicals that potentially can. So for us, it's one indicator. It's not the end all be all. It just allows us to move on to our next step and do it so safely.
and you would probably look more closely if you
Absolutely, it's 100%, yes, yeah. And we've got a number of them here in our location, garage, in all the buildings, and like I said, they're mobile, so we are able to move them as we need.
Thanks for your good work.
My final question was related to this is
Yes.
which I haven't seen.
It's from our Indigenous Affairs Secretary. Okay. CBSA obviously is a big component of reconciliation, and we have a tremendous amount of pride and working relationship with our
I haven't seen that particular one.
Wilson River, I'm sure there's employees that are
Absolutely.
part of CBSA.
Yeah, we've got actually all across the nation. I mean, we have a number of employees that are Indigenous here in Emerson, Winnipeg, all across the country. We're, through the many voices, no mind, agenda. We are, the 5 pillars, and we're trying to make sure that our workforce is representative of the areas that we work and respectful of those practices.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Olson, okay, nice Irish name.
Yes, absolutely.
That is a Winnipeg.
You said that to me too, so don't worry.
Okay, which way now?